Hey everybody, how's it going today? Jim Prusak from the Pain PT, and we're going to talk today about stress and the 50 most common signs and symptoms we see as a result of stress. Now, I think stress gets the short end of the stick. It's not talked about very much in that it can cause and actually create physical health problems such as chronic pain and other chronic health symptoms. We think of stress as sort of something we just deal with or we live with in a Western world, but many times it's swept under the rug and it's not giving its due justice to how it affects our bodies in a very real way. Now, stress can come from so many different sources: current stress, past stress, combination of the two. But the bottom line is that psychological stress probably affects the body more frequently than physical stress, but it's much less talked about. So let's move forward and go over some of these common signs and symptoms we see as a result of stress. Now, the American Institute of Stress, which is a nonprofit organization, started in 1978. They put out a lot of good research and good information around stress and how it impacts us as a society and as an individual. They made this list. So I'm going to go through this with you. Some of these findings might be a bit surprising. It also might raise your eyes a little bit to understanding really how much stress impacts us. So let's get started here. So frequent headaches, jaw clenching or pain, gritting and grinding of the teeth, stuttering, stammering, tremors, trembling of the lips and hands, neck ache, backache, muscle spasms anywhere in the body. I see a lot of people with lightheadedness, faintness, dizziness, ringing and buzzing sounds, popping sounds, frequent blushing or sweating, cold or sweaty hands and feet, dry mouth, problems swallowing. Now, I just want to say, when we think of stress, we're also thinking of that sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. So these are the same things that get activated through that system in the body. So continuing on, people that get frequent colds, infections, herpes sores, rashes, itching, hives, goosebumps, unexplained or frequent allergy attacks, heartburn, stomach pain, nausea, excessive belching, flatulence, constipation, diarrhea, loss of control. We see a lot of that with IBS type stuff. Difficulty breathing, frequent sighing, sudden attacks of life-threatening panic. See panic and anxiety often. Chest pain, palpitations, rapid pulse, frequent urination. Continuing on here, diminished sexual desire or performance, excess anxiety, worry, guilt, nervousness, increased anger, frustration, hostility. These are all emotions, number 22, 23, and then 24. Depression or frequent or wild mood swings, increased or decreased appetite, insomnia, hard time sleeping, nightmares, disturbing dreams, difficulty concentrating, racing thoughts, trouble learning new information, forgetfulness, disorganization, confusion, difficulty making decisions. We see that often with people that are in a stress state. Okay, feeling overloaded, overwhelmed, frequent crying spells, suicidal thoughts, feelings of loneliness or worthlessness, little interest in appearance, punctuality, which would be a form of depression, nervous habits, fidgeting, feet tapping, increased frustration, irritability, edginess, overreaction to petty annoyances, increased number of minor accidents, obsessive or compulsive behavior, reduced work efficiency or productivity. These are all common signs and symptoms of stress. So the last 10 here: lies or excuses to cover up poor work, rapid or mumbled speech, excessive defensiveness or suspiciousness, problems in communication and sharing, social withdrawal, isolation, constant tiredness, weakness, or fatigue. This is very common. Frequent use of over-the-counter drugs, weight gain or loss without diet, increased smoking, alcohol, or drug use, and excessive gambling or impulse buying. So these are the 50 most common signs and symptoms of stress. And as we know, stress comes out in both a physical way and an emotional way. So these top 50 combine both of those things. It works through the common pathway in the body, through the brain, and through the sympathetic fight or flight or freeze nervous system. This is what produces all these physiological manifestations in the body. And so what we want to do is we want to identify some of these things we might see in ourselves and understand that a lot of these signs and symptoms are the result of psychological stress. So we need to identify then what are these things currently or things from the past that are still stressors for us, that still bother us, that still make us tense, that still produce some of these signs and symptoms. We want to work through these areas of stress to relieve that tension, to relieve that burden upon our bodies, okay, to become at peace with a lot of things. Now we can change things in our lives. We can make current changes to change situations where we are, and that can also change our stress levels. But a lot of times we have to learn how to relax, which is the opposite of being stressed. Learn how to come to terms, to come to peace, and accept the stresses in our lives so it doesn't affect us as much, to reframe the stresses in our lives in a different way so they have a different context in our brains and then in our bodies. So stress is something I just want to bring more and more awareness to because it is a very common producer of chronic pain and other chronic health symptoms in the body. And we know there's some science out there that show that up to 85% of doctor office visits are due to stress-related conditions, or stress-related illness. And when our bodies are at an unease position or not at ease, that leads to disease, which leads to problems in the body. So have a look at your own lives. What are you stressing about? What are the things that put you under stress? What are the things in the past that still trouble you or still bother you? And see if you can come to terms with some of these things. See if you can notice in your own bodies some of these common signs and symptoms that indicate that your body might be under some stress. If you have questions or concerns, please reach out. I'm always here for help, consultation. I want to help everyone on their pathway to get out of chronic pain, out of chronic illness. So enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care now.